Picture this, it's 2025. In the offices of Zongnanhai, Beijing, behind those red walls and ancient courtyards where China's most powerful leaders work, decisions affecting 1.4 billion people ultimately flow from the desk of one man. Thousands of miles away, in corporate offices around the world, business leaders carefully navigate the complexities of dealing with what many call the world's last remaining superpower ruled by a single party. Now, imagine traveling back 2,200 years. In the palaces of ancient China, a young king named Ying Zheng is making decisions that will affect millions of his subjects. The methods are different, the technology has evolved beyond recognition, but the fundamental structure of power remains strikingly familiar. Here's a question that should keep you awake at night. Why is it that from 221 BCE, when a brutal young warrior first declared himself emperor, Huangdi, until today, China has never truly broken free from the gravitational pull of absolute power? Think about it. The Qin dynasty, China's final imperial dynasty, collapsed in 1911. The last emperor was overthrown. Democracy seemed within reach. Yet what followed? Yuan Shikai, then Mao Zedong, a man who never wore a crown but wielded power that would make any ancient emperor envious. After Mao came Deng Xiaoping, then Xi Jinping, leaders who, while never calling themselves emperors, have concentrated power in ways that echo through the centuries. This isn't just about China. This is about understanding how one man's vision of absolute control became so embedded in the DNA of the world's most populous nation that it has survived invasions, revolutions, civil wars, and the complete transformation of human civilization itself. The man who started it all wasn't born to be emperor. He wasn't even born in the kingdom he would eventually rule. His name was Ying Zheng. At the age of 13, he inherited a throne in chaos. By the time he was 39, he had done something no human being had ever accomplished. He had unified China under one rule, created a system of government so powerful and so enduring that its echoes still reverberate in the halls of power today. But here's what they don't teach you in history class. Qin Shi Huang didn't just conquer territories. He conquered the very idea of how power should work. He didn't just build an empire. He built a template for absolute rule that would be copied, refined, and reimagined by every subsequent ruler for over 2 millennia. The Great Wall, the Terracotta Army, the brutal standardization of currency, writing, and thought itself. These weren't just the achievements of an ancient king. They were the prototypes for a form of government that would prove almost impossible to kill. So buckle up, because the story you're about to hear isn't just ancient history. It's the origin story of a system of power that shaped the lives of billions of people and continues to shape our world today. This is the story of how a teenage king became the first emperor, and in doing so, created a monster that has never truly died. This is the story of Qin Shi Huang and the birth of a power that refuses to surrender. Chapter 1. The Making of Tyrant. Imagine you are a child, only 10 years old, but instead of playing in the courtyards of your palace, you are held hostage in a foreign land. Your very existence is a pawn in a brutal game of war and diplomacy. This was the childhood of Ying Zheng, the boy who would later be remembered as Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. His earliest memories were not of glory or triumph, but of humiliation, fear, and powerlessness. In the late 4th century BCE, the Chinese world was fractured. The mighty Zhao dynasty was long gone, and 7 powerful states fought endlessly for survival. Among them, the state of Qin was strong but isolated in the far west. Ying Zheng was born into Qin's royal house, but his fate took a dark turn early on. As a young boy, he was sent to the rival state of Zhao, not as a guest but as a hostage. For the people of Zhao, he was not a prince. He was a bargaining chip, a reminder that Qin must obey. He grew up surrounded by enemies, mocked for his foreign accent, his Western heritage, and his father's weakness. Humiliation became his daily reality. Imagine the scars such a childhood would leave. The deep sense of vulnerability, the longing for safety, and a burning hatred for those who held power over you. When Ying Zheng finally returned to Qin, he should have found security at home. Instead, he walked into betrayal. His mother, Lady Zhao Ji, became entangled in scandal with a man named Lü Buwei, a charismatic opportunist who wormed his way into her affections. Together, they plotted treason, even fathering children who could one day challenge Ying Zheng's throne. For the young king, this was not only political danger, but a deeply personal wound. His own mother, the person meant to protect him, had aligned with a usurper. The rebellion was crushed brutally. Lü Buwei was executed, and the surviving children were killed. Zhao Ji was disgraced and placed under house arrest. For Ying Zheng, the lesson was clear. Trust was a luxury he could never afford. Family, friends, ministers, anyone could turn into an enemy. At the age of 13, Ying Zheng inherited the throne of Qin. But in truth, he was no more than a puppet. The real power lay in the hands of the cunning Chancellor Lü Buwei, a man once rumored to be Ying Zheng's biological father. Lü Buwei ruled the court, manipulated factions, and used the young king as a figurehead. For nearly a decade, Ying Zheng lived under this shadow, outwardly obedient, but quietly watching, learning, and waiting. Every decree signed in his name reminded him of his own powerlessness. But beneath this facade, the boy who once suffered as a hostage was hardening into something else, a ruler who would never again allow himself to be controlled. When Ying Zheng turned 22, he made his move. Lü Buwei was forced into exile, stripped of his power. Soon after, he took his own life. Others who had conspired with him were executed. This was not just a political maneuver. It was Ying Zheng's first true taste of absolute control. Blood was spilled, rivals silenced, and authority concentrated in his hands. For the first time, he was not the pawn. He was the player. And that feeling, the rush of domination, the relief of finally holding power after a childhood of helplessness, became intoxicating. By the time he emerged from this struggle, Ying Zheng was no longer a fragile boy shaped by trauma. He had become a man obsessed with control. Every betrayal, every humiliation, every moment of weakness from his youth had planted a seed, a pathological hunger for security through absolute domination. As a hostage in Zhao, he learned the pain of powerlessness. From his mother's scandal, he learned the danger of betrayal. From Lü Buwei, he learned the price of being a puppet. Now, as king of Qin in his own right, he swore he would never again be a victim. The boy who once suffered became the man who would make others suffer. And the tyrant was born. This was only the beginning. With his power secured at home, Ying Zheng now turned outward. 6 great kingdoms still stood between him and total supremacy. In the next chapter, we will see how the haunted child of Zhao transformed into the conqueror of all under heaven.